Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 action horror film Bridge of the Doomed. A film that is directed by Michael Sue and it stars Kate Watson, Robert Lasado, Michael Paré, Sarah French and BJ Mezek. Right, okay, this film focuses on like a military outpost or a group of soldiers, and it's during like a zombie apocalypse, of course. And they are kind of ordered to hold a bridge during this zombie outbreak because it's a crucial point to stop them spreading, obviously, the zombie outbreak. However, controlling this bridge proves to be far more difficult than they realised due to the zombie apocalypse outbreak, but there's also something living under that bridge that may well be far worse than the zombies above it. Right, what are my thoughts on Bridge of the Doomed? Well, this is a very low budget action horror film. It's one of those low budget films that at times really does take you out of the experience, and most of that is due to the poor production value sometimes, but also some of the pretty poor performances. Not everybody. I mean, wisely, this film has kind of picked a handful of actors to kind of spearhead this film, who, while you would never consider any of them to be industry veterans or, you know, experienced actors or, you know, really talented actors, they have the skills to kind of front a film like this. And I'm talking about Kate Watson, Robert Lasado, and Michael Paré. Robert Lasado and Michael Paré are in it less than Kate Watson. Kate Watson essentially shoulders much of this film. And she's okay, as are the other two that I mentioned. Pretty much everybody else in this film, not so much. They're not convincing, and that's being kind, really. It's one of those films as well where they're playing US soldiers, but they look like they've been trained by school children. You know what I mean? They're clearly pretty terrible at the jobs. Some of them don't really know how to hold the weapons particularly well, and quite cowardly, all this kind of stuff. And they just don't convince as a military outfit for the most part. And I think one of the problems that I think this film really suffers from is there's just no story in this film. It is just scene after scene kind of sewn together of conflict between either the soldiers and each other, or the soldiers and like outposts outside the military base, like civilians, with really dull dialogue that from characters that you've no idea who they are, and they're not memorable in any way, shape or form. And I mean pretty much everybody in this film, even the veteran actors, their characters are pretty unmemorable. So the scenes that are the dialogue scenes are completely pointless and completely forgettable, and they add nothing to the film because there is no story to the film. It is essentially a series of scenes sewn together of crappy dialogue scenes, and then in between that is fighting off zombie scenes, hand-to-hand, shooting, all that kind of stuff, and that's it. Just shooting hordes of zombies or zombies attacking and munching people. I think one of the things this film has going for it, I think, are the zombie effects. While obviously they're not up to the standard of like a polished zombie film or a zombie film with a much bigger budget, I think they look quite effective for the most part. And it tries to go down the gore route in a sense of you see these zombies like ripping off flesh, you see them pulling out entrails and eating them and all that kind of stuff. So they've tried to go down that route to give you something to wince at here and there. So those scenes are quite effective. The only problem is you almost get desensitized to them because they happen all the time. Like I say, the zombies attack, and quite a lot of the times they get the victims and they start munching on them and ripping flesh off and pulling entrails out, but you get that over and over again. Now that would be impactful if the people who were attacking, like I said, were memorable in any way and you felt it. Not at all. I think the most effective zombie attack scene in this film, I felt, was near the beginning. And there were these civilians kind of cornered by these zombies, and a young lady tries to commit suicide with a gun, but she's no bullets left. And then you see these zombies feasting on her. Now, that would have been a really effective scene. I mean, it was quite an effective scene anyway, but I didn't know that character. Now, if they'd have taken the time to build up some of these characters and make them memorable so that you feel their loss, some of these scenes in the film would have been far, far more effective. As it is, it's just zombies munching people that you don't know. Most of them soldiers, some of them civilians. And then you've got this weird creature living under this bridge that's not a zombie, it's something else. And you're just kind of thinking, well, where's it? What's this? So you got this creature kind of living under this bridge, kind of ripping people apart and all this kind of stuff, as well as zombies on top. So it kind of becomes a mishmash then, of it becomes like a creature feature as well as a zombie film. So tonally, it's a bit odd, this film. It's described on IMDb as well as an action comedy horror. I don't know where the comedy is. I didn't see any comedy in this film, if I'm being particularly honest. But it's, if you like kind of B-movie type zombie films with some fairly decent effects and lots of shooting, lots of zombies charging about, lots of munching, but you're not that fussed about story or character development, you know, there's something here for you. Everybody else that wants a little bit of more depth to their films, there's nothing here for you, I would suggest. For me, I wasn't impressed with this film until I think the production values let it down. Some of the performances, the story was terrible, the dialogue was terrible, only being slightly redeemed, I think, by some of the zombie scenes and effects and kills. So that's why I've given it a 3 out of 10. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.